Before we dive in, a big thank you to Banksia Tech for supporting this episode. Proud distributors of the Hansen Rehab Glove by Sorebo. It's designed to help stroke survivors improve hand function at home. Whether you're early in recovery or years into it, you'll hear more about it later in this episode. Links are in the YouTube description and at recoveryafterstroke.com. What if the signs of stroke didn't match the FAST checklist at all? No facial droop, no slurred speech, no obvious weakness, just a sore shoulder, a strange heat in your body, and a gut feeling something wasn't right. That's how it started for Kevin Nakawatase on Christmas Eve. Within hours, the celebration turning into a medical emergency, and Kevin was facing complete paralysis on his left side. But this is not just a story about symptoms and hospital stays. It's about the quiet discipline it takes to keep showing up for recovery even years later. It's about finding purpose through advocacy and community and learning that the plateau is just another phase to push through. If you've ever been told you'll never get that back, if you felt your progress was slow and wondered if it's worth the effort, if you want proof that more recovery is possible long after the early months, then this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Kevin Nakawatase, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Tell me a little bit about, if you can remember, because it was a while ago, what life was generally like for you before the stroke.
Oh, my life was fairly active. I played sports year round, ice hockey, golf were the main things, and baseball. They're the three I played year round. Well, hockey year round because we can play year round. Because of the weather, baseball and golf were more seasonal. So from April till about October. And then basically I spent my life. And then I work for an events company. I've been doing that for over 30 years and married, no kids, and just living life vicariously through, I guess, what we're supposed to do when we get, as we're taught by our parents to, get married and have a good life and things like that, save your money, all those different things, right? So that was the standard fare. That was things, I was working at the church and stuff when I was more in the youth age. I wanted to be a Olympic coach, was sort of my ambitious goal when I was going to school. I graduated with a phys ed degree in Toronto, and the plan was to go to teach at a high school and then end up in the Olympics. But some things changed during my course of doing something like that. So I got into the events game, really enjoy it, and I'm still teaching people because you manage people. I worked in retail as well for a while. So all these different things came at me where I continue to work with people. And that's basically what I wanted to do my whole life, is work with people. So I've run camps, I've coached teams. And even after the stroke, it continues on right now as we speak.
Yeah. In 2014, how old were you?
I was 54 when this all happened. So I am 10 years along now.
Did you have a sense of your health back then, how it was? Did you consider yourself healthy, unfit, any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I was on blood medication pills. Did I take it regularly? No. Should I have been in better shape? Yes, but I wasn't. Should I have taken care of my health? Yeah, I think I took my health for granted, like most people do. And then little did I know until my mother, just before her passing, we found out my mom had many TIAs. So she had two of them in her lifetime. And my brother and our family had no idea this was going on. The only thing we kind of knew was mom kind of got late. We thought she was getting lazy in terms of she was starting to use a walker more. She wouldn't walk. She needed help. She wasn't that old. At the time, she was in her late 70s, and we didn't really think, she seemed really good. But then with the walker we bought, we almost thought it was a mistake because we thought because she had the walker, she wanted us to push. But little did we realize that she actually was having strokes, and that caused her to stop walking. So after you hear all that, the hereditary and getting a stroke and all that. Part of the gene pool, I guess, led to what's happened to what happened to me on Christmas Eve is when I had mine.
Do you recall that day? Was it normal? Was there any sense that there was anything wrong, or?
No. So what happened was I was wrapping gifts. We were gonna go to our in-laws, my Greek in-laws, by the way. We were gonna go to their place for Christmas Eve. I had a sore shoulder, so my left shoulder was really sore. And I kind of got up and I was sitting on the floor wrapping. I got up and I kind of lost my balance a little bit, but I just attributed it to I've been sitting for a couple hours wrapping gifts and that. So, nothing special. So I got ready to go out. Ended up at my in-laws' place. But once I got to my in-laws' place, I didn't feel good. I felt really off. We were talking about winter, so it was really cold. It was like -20 out, but I had my jacket off. Like I was standing with a shirt on. That was it because it was so hot. So my in-laws saw me and they said, you should go to the hospital, just get looked at. Thank God I took their advice, went down to the hospital. And the thing they were doing was checking me for heart attack because I had a sore left arm, which is the proverbial sign. We have fast for stroke, but with heart attack, it's usually sore arm and chest pains, obviously. But I had no chest pains, so we did the ECG, everything. So I missed the opportunity to get the medication as well. But we did all the ECG, nothing. My doctor was going to send me home that night. He just said, look, we can't find nothing. You seem fine. I said, I could have told you that, but my arm. And then all of a sudden, before I was leaving the hospital, my blood pressure went up to 220 over 120, which at the time is then now you've got some issues. There's something going on to have your blood pressure that high. So he did some more tests and he found out he did a MRI or a CT scan, and they found the block at the back of my right side. And so he said, you're having a stroke. So I said, oh, okay, now what? And that was the beginning of my next life. What is sort of the whole, like everyone that's had a stroke. Now, what now?
Yeah. So then you're having a stroke, you get admitted, they intervene. How did they intervene? What happens with the clot in the back of the neck?
So I'm assuming they were going to let it just do it. Like they didn't go in and take it out or anything, nothing, because they've seen it. I saw the X-ray or CT scan and saw the lump, and I guess they filled me up with they were giving me medication intravenously for about probably close to a week. I had it from the day I went in, and then until I got moved over 3 days later. Yeah, so roughly for about almost a week, about 5 days, I was on some kind of intravenous. So I guess the medication they gave me was to, I guess, eliminate the clot as it was going. I guess it did or whatever, because even when I moved to my rehab hospital, the doctor didn't understand why my blood pressure was still so high. But the doctor at my first place, he's a neurosurgeon, said, we're going to keep you on a higher level. That way, as you decline down, your body won't get into a shock of having the stroke. So I did have a typical stroke like most people were. I didn't have fast. If you had to talk to me, fast would have been way out of line because I didn't have, a droopy face. I wasn't slurring my words. I had nothing. Like I'm not, that was it. It was just all physical inside, nothing outside that people would have recognized.
Same here. So, but you seem nonchalant about it now. We're chatting about it like it's something that happened in the past, and it definitely is, right? But what was it like to receive that news? How did you respond at that moment?
So the day I found out, it was like midnight, Christmas Eve. They had to transfer me by ambulance. And, it's Christmas morning. There's nothing going on, no traffic. So they transfer me from a hospital over to another hospital, which happened to be about 5 minutes away. So I get in there and I start talking to I had a nurse, a male nurse. I was in ICU. And for 48 hours, he was talking to me and all that. I made my peace with God. I know it sounds weird. I got mad at him. I basically told him to. I used a four-letter word in my head. I didn't yell in the hospital,
Yeah.
but I kind of said to God, I just said, "Look, I have no idea what the hell's going on, but if you're going to give me this, if this is what you want from me, this is, I'm religious, but I don't practice." And I just said, "Look, if you want me to work hard to get better, and this is your sign, then let me get better. But do me one favor. I will work hard to recover. I will do whatever it takes, whatever direction you send me. But don't you dare give me a second stroke, because I've heard stroke, from other people. Secondary. I had learned a lot of people have secondary. I don't know about yourself, but I did. Heard that people do get it a lot of times. Like I don't know. The numbers are big.
Yeah.
70, 30, 80% people can get a reoccurrence. And I made my peace. That was the only time I ever got angry. That one moment lying in bed, and it's like 1 or 2 in the morning. I'm lying there waiting, and I know I've effed up. If you looked at, because if I take it, like you asked me a question, if you're taking care of yourself, I probably may not have been in that position. If I'd taken my meds, worked out, got better health wise, ate better, I probably would be in a better position. But
If you're working on hand recovery after stroke, there's a tool worth knowing about. The Hansen Rehab Glove by Cerebo is available through Banksia Tech. It's safe to use at home even years after stroke. With 6 therapy modes, including stretch, grasp and release, and a patented mirror function, it helps retrain your brain and hand together. Banksia Tech ships internationally and it qualifies as a low-cost assistive technology. Visit banksiatech.com.au or check out the links in the YouTube description and show notes at recoveryafterstroke.com to learn more. Now, let's pause. You've just heard Kevin describe the moments his stroke symptoms defied the FAST checklist and how in just a few days his left side stopped responding entirely. He could have given into the fear, the statistics, the "this is as good as it gets" mindset, but he didn't. He pushed harder. He made rehab his full-time job, even after the formal therapy ended. If you're in that place where your progress feels slow, where it's tempting to ease off, let Kevin's story remind you the plateau is not a full stop. Gains can still come years later. Effort compounds over time. Let's get back to Kevin and how he turned personal recovery into public advocacy. Was that your acceptance moment? Did you
yeah,
accept it right there and then?
yeah, I did. I said, what am I going to do? Like, it's sort of like I play poker, not for a living, but when you play cards, you play sports, you can't change the moment that passed. Once it's happened, if you're playing cards, you're dealt the hand, play the hand. That's just the way cards are played.
Yeah.
In sports, if they score a goal on you or hit a home run or whatever sport you're playing, that moment's done. You have to accept the fact that your team played lousy that game and you move on. And I coached for years, and you can't dwell on the past. So I couldn't dwell on it. And, I had no excuses. I blame myself for the stroke. I mean, I know a lot of people don't, because there's different, I met a lot of people that were healthy and in great shape, and things just went awry.
Yeah.
For me, it was okay. Kevin could have taken better care of himself. He should have, and he didn't. And these are things. So, and answer your question, Bill, yeah, I made my peace with myself. That was the defining moment right there and then. The moment I found out what was going to happen, the doctor came in the next morning. I didn't know I was going to be paralyzed. I thought it was just going to be, okay, I'm going to have a stroke, and then I'm just going to get better in 3 months, and I'll just get back to normal. But I'll take care of myself. And that was wishful thinking, because the doctor came in the next morning and said, this is going to get worse before it gets better. And I go, how can it get worse? I'm lying here on Christmas morning in a hospital. He goes, you're going to become paralyzed. And I had no idea there was paralysis in stroke. I've seen stroke people, and a lot of them have disabilities with walking, their hand. But I didn't know paralysis was part of the numbers.
How did he predict that?
I guess he knew because of where my blockage was, and it was going to be because it was at the very back, and I think he knew based on where it was the communication line from my left side, right side to my left side was going to be non-existent, which is so true because within a day by Christmas, Boxing Day, we call it Boxing Day here, the
Same.
day after Christmas, and I was in a chair and I couldn't use my left hand. I couldn't stand. All those things were gone. It's like I was like devastated, but I knew he had told me this is what to expect. So, I've always trusted doctors to the point.
Yeah. And you're watching your ability on your left side decline. Are devastated, yeah. But then how do you deal with that? Like, are you watching it? Are you going, oh my God, it's going? Are you looking at it? Are you feeling it? Are you trying to walk? I would have been, I was kind of, when I started noticing after the brain surgery, that I couldn't feel my left side properly and I couldn't walk. When I got out the bed for the first time and fell over because my left side wasn't working, um, and they put me into rehab, like I was kind of looking at it, willing it, telling it, making it, doing everything I could to just, I don't know, coach it back to better, which was
Yeah.
not going to be the way that it was going to work out. But um, I kind of got there. It took a lot longer than I imagined as well. But I I woke up from surgery and it wasn't there, but you were seeing it decline.
Yeah, I didn't go into surgery like a lot of people. I just went to bed. So what had happened was the nurse that was there, I talked to him a lot because there's no doctors around, and I had a night nurse and he kept talking to me. And I was looking at my hand. I really noticed when the paralyzation was setting in. Was I looking at my hand? Well, my hand was underneath the cover of the blanket, and I'm trying to tap my leg, like just like that, and it felt like I was tapping felt like my hand was moving, but it wasn't because it couldn't move. And I'm thinking, like I'm going like this now, and it's like, okay, my hand's moving and I can see my hand move. Under the blanket, I didn't want to look. It was kind of like I hit it and I said, okay, let me see what's going to happen. And then I had to start helping my hand out because I couldn't move it. And I looked at my hand. I asked the guy, I go, what the hell's going on? Like, why is my hand? He goes, that's the paralysis. Your whole body shutting down. The other thing too is I had a lot of spasticity in my left leg at the beginning before the paralyzation sank in, and my leg kept going up and down every 5 minutes. So I looked like a kicker, like from rugby or soccer or something. So my leg kept going like this, and I kept looking at the guy, and I go, "What the hell?" He just goes, "Your body's spasming out right now, and you're going to have a problem with that for who knows how long, but for the next while." And I just felt like I was playing a soccer game, like I was like those toy men. You just kick it and you look at it, or if you play foosball, like the thing's just doing that. That drove me crazy. Like it was just like, what the hell? My leg just keeps moving and wouldn't stop. So
So there
the
was,
term "happy feet."
yes. So there was acceptance of what happened, but what about what was happening? Were you able to kind of get your head around that and go, okay, whatever this is, we'll work it out, or was it more challenging?
No, I've always been, and you asked me a question back, like, what was my life like? I've always lived, I'm not a panicky kind of guy. And I think, my wife sometimes doesn't like that because I seem very calm. When things happen around us with friends, I don't panic. I know things can be done, but panicking, even when I coached, wasn't my style because if you panic and the kids see you're out of control, the kids are going to get out of control. So you have to stay in the moment and you have to kind of stay forward. And I try to implement some of the things I taught kids when I was coaching, the same thing I was teaching myself. I said, look, you're going to go through hell for a while, and I'm sure you're going to get the best care possible. And all you got to do is you got to deal with it as it comes. And you're talking to a guy like, moving forward is I never went to the gym. I didn't work out. I didn't do yoga. I didn't do anything. So my life was just sports, but I played, and that's where all my exercise was.
Yeah.
So it was like it's a reversal of fortune because I couldn't play sports anymore. And then I tried, but I couldn't play like I used to. And then working out, working with a trainer and all that after the fact was something I had to implement because that was the only way I was going to get better.
Yeah. How long did you spend in that acute phase where just diagnosed, your left side's not working, you're still in hospital in the early days? How long did that last? And then how long after that did you end up in rehab?
3 days. So I got in. So I went in Boxing Day, and then because of the holiday, there was very skeletal. So they put a request. I guess after the doctor saw me and a physiotherapist came in on Boxing Day and was working with me, they determined I needed to get out of there fast and get to a rehab center. So I went in on Thursday, I think, and I was in a rehab facility, my new facility, on Monday morning. They ambulanced me out there Monday morning. I was starting physio Monday afternoon because I think with the paralysis, it was only going to be temporary. The doctor knew that, and I think he wanted me to keep my joints moving, and keep them active so they didn't get atrophy.
Okay.
And that's one of the things I preach a lot to people, like right now, even with support groups. Now is, even though your hand seems like it's pretty bad, just try to move it, do small things. I discuss that with people, just that, people think because it's kind of dead right now. I look at it like a plant. You can re-water plants and they can get back to normal. Same thing. And that was sort of how I had to anticipate everything. Is I was determined to be back on the baseball diamond and play hockey in the summer within 3 months. Like, so in December, I wanted to make it to baseball in April. So 3 to 4 months, I wanted to be back to normal.
Did you get
And
back?
that was my, pardon?
Did you get back?
No, because it was kind of funny. My occupational therapist, Stephanie, I remember her name. We were going through all the stuff. I worked with her for 4 weeks, and just before they're gonna discharge me as an outpatient. I said to her, "Well, okay, I want to go. I'm ready to go play ball soon. How long is it going to take me to get better?" And she just looked at me, and she did it with a very straight face, but she respected me enough to be honest with me and said, "Look, Kevin, I don't want you to get your hopes up too high because you don't know how serious your stroke has been. And I would suggest you just work through the summer. And this summer is not going to be fun and games. You're just going to be trying to get better." And she gave me a weight, like just before we left. She says, "Here, I'll prove something to you as well." She put a weight down on the table. I had no idea what weight limit was. She goes, "Pick that up and try to lift it." And I said, "Are you kidding me? How big is this weight?" Well, I looked at it, it was really tiny, right? I go, "So, okay, this is not big." So I tried to pick it up. I couldn't even lift it. And I said to her, "How much is this? 10 pounds?" She goes, "No, it's one." And I go, "1 pound?" She goes, "Well, I wanted you to understand how serious your situation is. And if you don't get better, you have to work harder to get better." And that helped me too. Like it pushed my boundaries of, working out and, getting instructions, which I took forward after the fact because how am I going to get better sitting around? And I know that is one of the things that I know you and I and all the people we sit with, trying to get better has been the hardest thing for everybody because unless you're financially rich, unless you've got good health care or you've got a good health system within your country, a lot of people just stay home and then they just, and then, COVID came along and all these different things. And that really upset the apple cart in terms of how recovery went.
Man, but COVID came along 6 years later.
I know.
So, so this is
But
interesting. I'm going to be, we'll delve into that in a minute. So you've gone, uh, so this lady who helped you at rehab gave you kind of one of the biggest lessons or one of the biggest eye-opening experiences, just proving to you that you might be ahead of, your mind might be ahead of the game, like where you're at
yeah,
right now is recovery, overcoming regaining your strength, etc. It's not go back to the diamond and start smashing balls into the
I
outfield.
tried
Yeah,
in May. Our season starts in May, so I did go back to the team,
yeah.
but it was horrible. It was like I was like a little kid. I tried skating the next in September of the next after try skating again, and I was like starting all over because my left leg was so badly damaged, like the hamstrings and everything. So
Mm,
yeah, if it wasn't for Stephanie and her talking to me and all my therapists, like
yeah.
I had 4 or 5 at the hospital because I went back as an outpatient to the same place. And one of the great things that I found is when I was there, everybody wanted to work with me. And it's not because, Kevin's this nice guy and all that. It had nothing to do with that. It's just that most of the people, when I was in the hospital, were in their 70s and 80s, and recovery is going to be very
Different.
thin. And they had no enthusiasm. A lot of them had cognitive issues, so they couldn't comprehend. So it's like if you have a mother in their 70s right now, tell her to go, walk up and down the stairs like it's something. They can't do that even when they're normal. So a lot of them, the therapists, their frustration is they want to help people, and it's sort of hard if the people aren't responding. It's like you're talking to yourself. And whenever I had an empty moment, because I wanted 5 hours a day in Canada, they just implemented 3 hours a day because it used to be 1 to 2, and then in January of the year I was in there. They did three. The my minimum was supposed to be 3 hours. So I begged them. I just said, give me anybody, and you don't even have to work with me. Give me a task. I'll do it. So the Karate Kid one was my favorite because they did the wax on, wax off. You ever saw the movie?
Oh, mate.
So we did a lot of that. And I said, here, just put me in front of the board. I'll wax on, wax off by myself. And then all the therapists had to do was sit near me and just keep an eye on me, but didn't have to work with me. And they loved that because at the same time, it gave them a chance to see my progression. And they're also willing to try different new skills to see if, they learned to see if it could help me, which, I appreciated immensely that I started getting a lot of this attention to do therapy. And that really helped in my recovery and probably why I got kicked out in 30 days as opposed to maybe 3 months.
Yes. So interestingly, I had been booked in for 2 months,
Yeah.
and I remember those conversations specifically about you're young and you're going to get results, whether they knew it or not. I don't know what it was, but you're young, you're going to get results, and they put in the effort and they were encouraged, and they were encouraged by my attitude, and I was encouraged by their attitude. Like it was a loop of amazingness, um, without their words, it would have been, um, more for me to work out, more for me to contemplate and understand. But I went in there pretty motivated anyway. I was 40 years old. I needed to get out of there, I needed to go home, be with the kids,
Yeah.
work, all the usual stuff. But they did use those words. They did allude to the fact that I was 40, and that was a real benefit, in the whole process. Um,
Yeah.
now,
It's sad, but I'm 54 and I'm the youngest guy in the place
yeah,
in our wing, in our ward, because 54 is now, if you look at 54 now, it's old,
yeah,
like in the terms of, how things are, but
yeah. I was
just the way
similar.
it is.
I was similar. I was one of the youngest people in there as
Yeah.
well. And I don't know, it's good not to see other younger people in there, which means hopefully they're not being injured by something in the brain. So that whole experience was pretty cool. And I would say when people asked me when I got released from rehab, how far along are you? I would say 95%. And it's stayed at 95% since then for 10 years now. When people ask me how far, firstly, I tell people I'm fully recovered, I'm fully healed, but I still have all the deficits. So, but
Yeah.
my physical capacity is nowhere near 95%. Like I can't run like I used to. I can't play soccer. I can't run around with a football or anything like that.
Yeah.
But but I can go to the gym, push weights, walk, do that type of stuff, be physical at work, all that type of thing. And when people ask me how far along I'm recovered now, it's still 95. What I didn't realize was what 95 was back then to what 95 is now is a completely different thing because I was nowhere near 95. I would judge myself by my ability to stand up and look at myself in the mirror, touch my nose, pick up a pen, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But that was so fleeting. Those wins, those gains, they weren't massive gains. They were little gains. And if I didn't focus and concentrate on them for the next 10 years, I'd lose that. That would go. It would be so
Yeah,
quick.
absolutely. One of the things Stephanie had told me as well too, or her or one of my other therapists, they said, look, in the first 6 months, you're going to notice a lot of different changes in your body. As you recover, you'll see the big changes because in the first 6 months to a year, the biggest gains in recovery are during that time. And they said to me, do not get sad in the next year if you're not recovering and you don't think you're recovering because you are. And I said, what do you mean? Well, you're not going to notice as much because the stuffs are going to be small, like, walking. You don't watch yourself walk. You can feel yourself walk, but you don't watch yourself. But your wife or your friends are going to make comments to you and say, well, you're walking better. Take that as a grain of salt. Take that with a lot of enthusiasm because they're the ones that don't see you every day. And they're the ones that notice these smaller changes in you. And I think that's when I was leaving rehab as an into an outpatient, I took that so wholeheartedly that all my recovery was going to be small down the road, and I'm going to have to accept that. And my story to everybody is if a person broke their leg, just broke their leg, they would never recover to 100%. They would get back to about 95. And I kind of looked at that was the attitude I'm going to have to take. It's like, oh, my body's broken. Okay, but I'm going to recover and I'll try to recover as much as I can. Like, I don't know about you right now, but I still stretch a lot. I do a lot of exercises in the house just to keep the body from stiffening up because I didn't at the beginning. And then I worked with a trainer. Like, I got right out and then I started working with a trainer. And one of the trainers had pushed me to just continue to work at home and, just do stretching exercises and do all the small things that keeps your body active, like keeps the mind telling the body what to do.
Yeah.
So
I would encourage that. It sounds like that therapist was telling you about the plateau. You might,
yeah,
without using the words, you're going to plateau and all that kind of stuff. It sounds like she said, like, when you get there, don't worry about it. Recognize it and then just keep going.
yeah.
And
That was her word, plateau. That was
ah,
the word she used.
yeah, yeah. Brilliant. And that means that at least you're aware of it and using it as a way to kind of say, you're going to get there. And this is the positive part about it. Instead of how a lot of people receive that information from doctors, which is you're going to reach a plateau and we're going to kick you out of therapy because that means you're not recovering anymore.
Yeah. I've heard that a lot. And I've heard different people. I met some young people because I ran a couple of events last year in the States. And I met two people in LA. One was now 32, the other one was 29. They had a stroke at 3 and 7. The guy was 7, he was now 29. His parents had told you they're going to let him die in the hospital. And within 24 hours, he had a turnaround in recovery from the stroke, not the stroke itself. He has the stroke, but his body got better and he was able to, not do big therapy like we do, but as a kid, he got to become a kid again.
Yeah.
And yeah, he still has some after effects, but to hear those stories, I met a guy in Germany last November. I had gone out for a project and he was told he had a stroke 2 years ago and he told he was going to speak ever again. And then here he is. He's 2 years later. He's speaking, not well, but he's speaking.
Yeah.
And I just don't like that kind of stuff when people are told, "Never, you're not going to." That's just wrong.
I agree. I agree. It's one of the worst words that people can use,
Yep.
therapists, doctors. It kind of undoes the good work they've done. You've done all this good
Yeah.
work. We've spent millions of dollars in medical miracles, machines, training, university, student debt, and then you're going to send the guy home and say, you're never going to do that again. Oh, what's the point of that? I don't
Yeah,
understand.
then what's the point in doing therapy in the first place? And why
Yeah,
don't you just let the guy, just throw him, bury him 6 feet under?
yeah,
But that's when you ask the question of mentally, that's where I knew I wasn't going to let this define me. And, maybe you and I are in that small percentage of, we're not going to let the stroke define us. It's not going to, make us, it's going to make us different in some aspects, but we're going to be the same people we were,
yeah.
before the stroke. And that's all I've done is just try to be the guy that people knew me as before. And then, I won't let the stroke define me. I mean, I never got into the stroke world for the first 8 years. You talking to me now is only because in the last 2 years I decided to do something about it because I met a girl online and that's how we formed our events last year is because it's just I heard all the stories. There are a lot of horror stories of how healthcare is not here only in Canada, but globally, Australia, Asia. So that really made me sad.
We'll talk about what you're doing in a moment as well, but I want to go back to
Yeah.
the COVID days, right? So 6 years after your stroke, I would imagine recovery is going forward. Everything's sort of tracking along and you're overcoming all your obstacles. You're, getting stronger and physically fitter and healthier as much as you can. So how does COVID get in the way of your recovery? Because when I got to COVID, I was like you, two years extra of recovery, by the way.
Yeah.
But when I got to COVID, it was like in Melbourne, we had the longest lockdowns and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So do we.
And I took it as a time, oh well, I'll it was annoying, frustrating, all that kind of stuff, but I took it as I'll occupy myself in another way. And I didn't feel like I was missing out on the physical part or the other therapies. Do you know what I mean? Like I had
Yeah.
moved on from that stage of it. What happened with you?
So prior to, I was working with different trainers. So I hired private trainers. I went to the gym for the first time. I signed up for a gym for the first time in my life. 56, almost 60 years old. I finally signed up for a gym. Kevin's not a gym guy. He'll do his exercises on the ice and all that. And I signed up for the gym. And during the time of COVID, I wasn't allowed in the gym where, everyone was banned from going in. That kind of put a damper on the next part of my recovery because as you said, like a plateau. And I was getting into walking better. I was working with a treadmill. I had a trainer that I worked with. I had 2 or 3 different trainers that I was working with. My one left, they went to another one. And it was kind of sucked, but it was actually that time too that my trainers were saying, look, you can't go out. You're going to have to do a lot in-house. And not that I wasn't before. I bought a yoga mat. I got weights. I got bands. I got all these things. So I started doing in-house and I quit the gym. I got rid of my membership after the COVID was over because I just felt the money wasn't needed. The only thing that they had there that might have helped me was the treadmill because my gait was so off. I wanted to keep working on it. But now COVID didn't have the big impact, but I've met a lot of people that got it during COVID. And I'm telling you, man, I have a friend still in the hospital right now. He got it during COVID and his recovery has been so slow because he didn't get any recovery during COVID. And for me, it's just watching him wilt away with no help. And he's so depressed. His mental health is, through the roof because of all this. And COVID just didn't help people in that normal,
Access.
he hopefully would have had better recovery. And I thank God that, like you and I, we didn't have it during. I don't know what would have happened. I honestly try to believe that it wasn't going to impact me to a level that I'm still going to be the strong guy and work out and do something. But I don't know. I can't, I'm thank God I don't have to figure that part out, but I just can't imagine anyone having a stroke from 2019 to now, like how devastating the whole process has been.
Yeah, even worse than you normally have to deal with. Like you have to deal with all the stroke stuff, and then all of the non access to services, and then all of the difficulty with people coming to see you and all that type of. It was just it would have been difficult for a lot of people, way more difficult than it needed to be.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
what's interesting is you're still doing all the recovery stuff 6 years later. You know, you're still at the gym, you're still going for, uh, you know, personal bests. You're still trying to overcome. You're still trying to get fitter and stronger. Your gait is still on your mind. You need to work it out. You need to fix things more. That's the interesting part to see that even 6 years later, you're still going for improvement.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that I think if I could, if you really could stand up in front of stroke recovery and caregivers, that's the message is you can't give up no matter we're going to be recovering for life. That's just the whole thing. This is not like short, when you break your leg, like I said before, it might take 3 months, do the rehab, get recovered, and you're back out playing hockey again or whatever sport you want to play. For us, it's always going to be, you're worried about having a secondary stroke. And then secondly, your body, you don't know what it's going to do, if it's going to break down. If you keep working out, is it going to be preventive? Nobody knows. There's no real solution to it. So you got to hope that all the hard work you put in is going to be worth all the time and effort that you've lost to make yourself better as you move forward. And that's, I think, that's my only message is that's it. You just want to keep pushing yourself to get better, stay stronger. I think the only the positive that got out of the stroke. I mean, there's a lot of positives. Don't get me wrong. For my body was I had two torn meniscus in my knees, and with all the work I've been doing on walking and weights and stuff on my legs, my meniscus don't bother me anymore. But they're still torn. But I'll deal with that down the road, because it can get arthritic. But it's kind of a weird thing that something like that has changed due to the fact that I had to work out and do all these exercises.
Yeah, you improved it. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You're very matter of fact right now. You're very logical. But did you have some tough times emotionally and mentally at all?
I don't. Did I have mental health problems? I don't know. I'm not trying to brag about it. I'm not
No,
just saying,
that's all
oh,
right.
I'm a
It's
mental.
not essential. I mean, it's not. You
No,
know.
I know. I don't want to sound like that. I'm a tough guy and all that. I think internally, I had my moment. My defining moment was this Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Every
Right.
Christmas Eve
Okay.
that comes by, the last 10 Christmas Eves and Christmases have come by. I thank God that I'm not in bed
Hmm.
and things are good. And I thank God that all the work I put in 10 years ago to now has paid off for me being, normal. And when I say normal, I don't know about you and your friends and your family. If they treat you like normal, like you never had a stroke before, people see you and say, "Hey, Bill, you had a stroke? Like, you come on, no, there's no way in hell." Right? When you get those kind of things, because people have seen people with strokes, and all the commercials that are out there on the television, globally aren't pretty. Where it's not a pretty thing. So I take it as a tribute that people don't come up to me and say, "Well, what happened to you?"
Uh-huh.
If they ask, oh, sure, I'll tell the story. I'm not ashamed of what's happened. It's happened. But I try to put some of it behind me, and hence why I didn't get really involved in the community earlier until now, because now I feel the story needs to be told how to keep pushing, because I see so many people having, issues just trying to recover. Mental health, obviously, we talked about COVID. Since COVID has become a very big, big thing. I mean, it was there before, but we really hear about it now because being alone can really cause a lot of depression,
Yeah.
sadness, and there are people that haven't had the support to recover like me and you have probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. There's a spectrum is wide, right? So not everyone falls in the same part of the spectrum, and
Right.
it's different hard differently for everybody. So um, that brings me to the work that you're doing now. So the community that you're talking about and the um, support groups, etc. So tell me what you've set up in Canada and how people access it, who accesses it, and what you guys do.
So right now, what had happened last year is that I met a girl in New York. We partnered to do a couple of American events for stroke because she had a lot of connections. So I wanted to build off of that. We have since kind of parted. She's now kind of doing with her mom, and that's fine. She's still doing it. I support her immensely. I think it's great that we're doing it. My focus is being more on Canada. The second part of it is I want to run the events again, but now I want to get the healthcare people involved. I want to get insurance, government, because I really don't think that community, all these people understand what we're going through, the costs associated, all these things. I think there needs to be a better definition. When I hear people go 3 months and they know they're going to get cut off from from their financing, that needs to be, they need to understand, but there's not a timeline in recovery. Recovery is different. You and I have taken different timelines, but they all think it's 3 months. It's like, okay, that's not right. So the events are going to be, I'm trying to get these started in Canada. The hard part is all the medical device companies that need to get out in the forefront to, the products that they don't have the money. And this is where I'm trying to find entrepreneurs, some kind of rich person that's going to support it and put the money in. That's still my angle I'm trying to work on. So I'm trying to do these events to bring everybody together so we can talk about and discuss how we're going to get better. My whole objective is not just in Canada. I want to do it globally. Talk to people in Australia, do it there, do it in Asia, do it in Europe, and just make it something. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of stroke events. Yeah, but it's all on neurology and it's all for doctors. The stroke people and caregivers need just as much information to do better. Which I wrote a book. I'm just trying to get it published. I'm working on trying to get it published. It's called the Roadmap, Stroke Roadmap, and that's more for caregivers and what you need to do, what you need to. I don't know who your support was when it happened to you, but the person who supported you has no idea what's up. This is not like, and there's no guidebooks out there. I mean, you can go online and read all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I put a whole kind of package together from things like, getting insurance, talking to doctors, what's the plan? What's the future going to be like? What are you going to need? What is, as friends, what should you do? What shouldn't you do? Because I had a lot of people call me and their friends had strokes and they go, what do we do? And I said, well, here's what you should do. And here's what we want, because we don't want, we don't want empathy and sympathy. That's it. Well, I didn't, and I can't speak for you.
Yeah.
But what I want is support. And, if you need something, sure, we'll take that support, but try to help us be better, not try to help us baby us. I don't want to be babied.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the whole thing. So that's part of the whole package I've done. And the other thing, I just came back from Germany in November, and Bayer is now doing a look at secondary stroke. And so I'm on the campaign of that with them. They filmed my wife and myself. They took 6 of us from Europe and North America, 2 from North America. And we told our stories just like I'm doing with you today. And they filmed it, and Bayer's running campaigns now on secondary stroke. It's Noted To as the campaign. So the whole idea is, how do we prevent it? And so I continue to work with them now. They're doing more segments, and they soft launched it just in May, and they're going to fully launch it in October in Spain, and then North America is going to get launched next February at the Heart and Stroke. So that's been another part of this stuff. And I'm also doing support groups. I'm actually jumping on one after we speak later. And that's been with the March of Dimes in Canada. And it's been quite, how do I say it? It's been a learning experience, not for me, but learning about others and what they've gone through. You and I, you seem like me. We've gotten through it. We've done well, and we've kind of grown with it. We still are our mental health issues, but not like some of the other people I've met.
Yeah,
There are
that's the
people
thing
that
about
I've
it.
met. Yeah, it is like I feel like just jumping through the computer, go sit down with them and say, "Look,
Give them a
I
hug.
know this is rough, but you can get through this." And being a cheerleader is great, but then I get sometimes when people see you, and I don't know if you get this, but you've recovered quite well, as I can see, and there are others you've met that haven't quite recovered, and I'm sometimes wondering if people are thinking, "Why is he so good, and why am I like?"
Absolutely. Look,
And
we get
that's
a lot of stroke survivors reach out to me to be on the podcast, like you know,
yeah,
nearly 360 episodes. And that means a lot of different versions of recovery
yeah,
or not recovery. And that's the challenge. It's like I can't represent everybody. So what I try and do is bring a whole bunch of diverse versions of stroke my con
right,
on my conversations so that I can then at least close the gap between my awareness of what it's like and the reality, because my awareness, my version is not the reality for everybody. So just try and close the gap and then make those stories available. If I get to 1,000 podcast episodes, I think I will have achieved that. I'll have, you know, very broad range of different experiences. And then at least I can connect all the different people who need different versions of stroke together,
yeah,
because my version might not resonate with somebody and that person might not resonate with me and whatever. So I have the same concern. The good thing about is my concern and your concern is, even though we're doing, like our version of it, I think it's important. Without it, I think there's going to be more of a gap, and it's necessary for us to push on, push forward in the only way we know how, our version of it. And
yeah,
just
yeah. I
accept other
agree.
people as being, just accept other people as being um, in a different part of their journey. And that if one word that we say in our conversation helps, just about mindset, or just about what plateau means, or just about what exercise, how much exercise is necessary. Like just one
Hmm.
word, I'm done. I'm happy. They don't have to resonate with me in any other way. Just one word. I'll take that to the bank. I don't mind at all.
I agree. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think I don't think twice about it, and I don't shy away from telling people how I've done it. That's why I keep saying to people, I'm not here. I've worked hard to get where I am. This is not like when some fairy dust came on top of you and I, and we got the longer end of the stick.
Yeah.
Not at all. I know, I see stroke survivors, and I can tell how people have done and how well they're doing based on the conversation and how they look, because my favorite line is always, you just got to keep pushing yourself. It's the only way you're going to get better and you get stronger. And some people take it on, and then some people can't. And I get it, because cognitively, sometimes it's not the easiest thing. And I think, like you, like me, we both didn't get a lot of cognitive. I had no cognitive, and based on my conversation with you right now, and we just met for the first time, I would think if you had any, you've gotten through it, or you had very little at all, and
Yeah.
you were able to recover to a point to make yourself better, because obviously thinking and a lot of the energy from the mind has to tell the body what to do.
Yeah. I had cognitive issues. They were short term, over probably 6 months. Couldn't remember
Good.
who saw me. Still today, people tell me I came and saw you, and I don't remember that they did at all. Like, no idea.
Long-term memory is still up and down.
Just in that period of time, yeah, in that
Yeah.
6 month period of time. I couldn't type an email. I couldn't read a book. I couldn't start and finish a sentence. Um, I would forget mid-sentence what I was talking about, what the topic was.
Yeah.
All these things, they happened for a short amount of time. I was in a wheelchair for a short amount of time, probably about 6 weeks all up.
Yeah, I had
Um,
4 weeks.
so I have some spasticity. Everything that stroke survivors say has happened to them has happened to me, but in other areas, like in a small, short version of that. So I have a taste, a glimpse of it, but I don't have the full life experience of it. It's not,
Yeah.
I'm not living with a wheelchair or anything like that. So
Were you dominant side or non-dominant?
non-dominant. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So you and I are very lucky because I keep telling people if it's your dominant side, you actually have to learn it double time
Yeah.
because you're teaching your bad hand how
Yeah.
to be good, and you have to teach your good hand how to be better. And
Yeah.
that's double. It gets really hard.
That's heaps of work, right? So I totally get it. And I think that it doesn't matter how you step up with what, and I'm talking to stroke survivors watching and listening now. It doesn't matter how you step up. But what I love is stroke survivors who want to help other stroke survivors often reach out to me and say, I just want to be on your podcast. If I share my story and that helps somebody, job done. And that's
Yeah,
it. See, like helping other people can be just as simple as that. Just share one story that goes out to a global audience. Somebody gets um, a word out of that or one idea out of that, and it's job done. This is what I mean about everyone can support each other in their own unique way with the resources they
absolutely.
have, um, and with the amount of time they want to allocate to it. Somebody allocates 1 hour in the next 10 years to helping stroke survivors. Man, that is awesome. I mean, honestly, that's all we need. We don't need
Yeah.
more than that.
If the message gets out and one person hears it and it helps them, that's all it takes. It's just
Yeah.
that one person.
I love what you're
Uh,
doing. I love how you got Bayer, the pharmaceutical company, involved. Like, that's brilliant. I think that's
well, they
more of that
came
needs
they
to
came
happen.
chasing me. I didn't go to them, though I would have
Okay.
loved to. When I was looking for sponsors, yes, I reached out to them in Canada, but yeah, it's been more and more. I've been, on my website and everything. I've got everything up there, uploaded. Anything they talk about, I like in LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff. The whole idealism too is that there's so many people. For me, the message is there's so many companies, so many people that are getting involved in stroke, myself included. And I'm glad that people are, and I just hope that people understand you're not alone. This is not it's a community. It's not one that people want to sign up for. Let's put it that way. This is
No,
not like everyone's going to want to come to this group.
no.
But at the same time, the group's out there, and there are so many people that I've talked to that they've all got advice, and that's good. I think the advice is important. What you do with it is up to you,
Yeah,
and your journey is going to be different than mine, Bill, and then different from the other people. But we all have one common goal, and that's to get as healthy as possible
that's it.
to what we are. Don't expect yourself to be back to like I said, the broken leg theory. If it's broken, you're never going to be 100. That's just the way it is. But don't ever give up. You always can strive for 100,
Yeah,
and the closer you get, the better. That's all you want. If you hit the 100, good for you. I'm not trying to downplay not to be. I just think you got to have the acceptance of small things may not just always work perfectly for you. But I'm only one person. There's so many others I've seen. Prime example in the NHL, Chris Letang plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's had 2 strokes. He's still playing in the NHL. Now, what he goes through, I have no idea.
yeah.
There are a lot of other people who have had strokes, entertainers
Mm,
and people like that, and they're still living their lives, and that's why.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Where would people go if they wanted to connect with you? Might be Canadian listeners here going, I need to connect.
yeah. Yeah, go to my website. It's K as in Kevin, N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, C as in Charlie, T as in Tom.com. So KNSCT.com. All my details in there. All my events that I've done are in there. My bear videos in there. I have actually did another podcast with a gentleman from Oregon I met in LA, and it's called Stroke Warrior Radio, and he's doing exactly like you, but in the American version.
Yep,
So
yep.
I've been on that one as well, and good on you guys for putting this together. I'm not tech savvy, so I'm getting my niece doing all my work for me. My 2 nieces are doing my website, my prints, and everything. All I do is just feed it out. So I appreciate the family, but this is this is sort of thing that, it's my expertise in terms of what I've done for work and, reaching out to people. And I just want to continue to help the community. Everyone goes, what's your goal out of this? I said, probably like you, if you win the Nobel Peace Prize, it ain't what I want, the Nobel Peace Prize, but it does mean that we've done something good and people recognize you globally for doing something well. And that's, the whole idea is to make people understand that stroke survivors need attention and need to get fixed, because I always, I don't like comparing apples to oranges. Heart attack, they go in, they can fix it. You get a bypass, pretty much normal. They can't go in our head and start fixing it and playing with it. We have to live with this disability and things like that. So I said, we have to work harder to get to some normality. So
I agree. If anyone wants to nominate me for the Nobel Peace Prize or something like that, please do.
Well, I will. Yeah.
If I get it, it means that we bring to light more of these issues. That's all. The only reason I want to get it, my ego's got nothing to do with it. But
exactly, mine either.
But if you want to give me the Nobel Peace Prize or any other prize that allows me to get in front of thousands of people and give my acceptance speech or anything like that and talk about stroke, start nominating me. Just do it everywhere.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. I'll be the first. I'll be first in line when the nomination forms come up. I know you laughed when I said that, but when I was saying it, and you're going, but I tell my friends the same thing. And say, they go, Nobel Peace Prize. But it's the biggest globally, it's the biggest award worldwide. I mean, we can't win an Oscar. No. That's total different thing.
Terrible actor. Hey, I'm going to have the links in the show notes. So anyone wants to reach out, they can. And
thank you.
I really appreciate your time, Kevin. Great to meet you.
I appreciate you. I want to get. I'd love to get together, and if you're ever thinking of doing an event in Australia, I come down. Like, I absolutely would love to help you guys out in Australia.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Once I get stuff here, I'll invite you down. And for me, it's just a matter, Bill, just trying to pass the message on, trying to make people understand, we're going through a disability, but it can be worked out. And, it's your life's not over because of something like this. Yes, you're going to have to work harder, smarter, but those are things we have to work on in real life, whether we're sick or not.
Yeah, 100%, man. Thank you so much for joining me and being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Bill, and wish you guys a happy winter while you're down there. We're enjoying the heat right now, but yeah, let's stay in touch, and we'll keep connecting and trying to make this world a better place for stroke survivors.
Before we wrap up, another thank you to Banksia Tech for supporting this episode and making stroke rehab tools like the Hansen Rehab Glove accessible to more survivors. If hand movement is part of your recovery, this glove might help. Visit banksiatech.com.au or use the links in the show notes and in the YouTube description. Now, let's reflect. Kevin didn't just experience a stroke with no fast signs. He didn't just survive paralysis and months of uncertainty. He built a recovery lifestyle. He worked past a plateau. He kept training years down the track. He stepped into advocacy, partnering on awareness campaigns, hosting survivor events, and joining support groups. Because for Kevin, recovery isn't a deadline. It's a way of living. If this episode resonated with you and you'd like to help me reach 1,000 stroke survivor interviews, please consider supporting the podcast on Patreon. Your support covers editing, publishing, and sharing real recovery stories like Kevin's. And if you want more stories of post-stroke growth, check out my book, The Unexpected Way The Stroke Became the Best Thing That Happened, written by a survivor for survivors. Links are in the show notes and YouTube description. Until next time, keep going. Keep showing up, and remember, recovery is for life.
Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.